Part 20. Stages of Dawah. The message was preached in stages. When Amr ibn Abbasa asked the Messenger of Allah about his message, he replied, "To fulfill the ties of kinship, to be good to one's family, and to break all idols so that only Allah be worshipped." At this stage, neither prayer nor fasting nor the Hajj pilgrimage were prescribed. As the Dawah did not have any political implications at this point, it did not cause major tensions with the Quraysh, even when they heard rumors. This continued for 3 years, and the Dawah did not result in any significant confrontation between the Muslims and the rest of the Quraysh, as it did not impact their trade or politics. The Prophet's teachings focused solely on matters of personal religion. As a result, the strength and resolve of these early companions was unparalleled. Note that there were eventually over 100,000 companions, but we only know the names of around 5,000. The first few hundred, many of whom experienced this intimate period with the Prophet, were equal to entire nations in status and influence. Their training with the Prophet in close quarters prepared them for the lofty duties to come as well as the grueling tests they had to endure. They went on to lead entire cities and countries even after the Prophet. Prayer and ablution were then revealed. Prayer was voluntary but was practiced regularly. When the Prophet traversed the night journey and ascension, prayer was mandated, and the units of prayer, rak'at, were upgraded from a uniform 2 units for all prayers to 2 units for Fajr, 4 for Zuhr, 4 for Asr, 3 for Maghrib, and 4 for Isha. When Allah obligated the prayer, He did not need to teach the Prophet how to pray, as the Muslims were already praying. 3 years on, the second stage was public dawah with no military combat. The Muslims were persecuted, but did not retaliate. The first 3 to 4 years of this phase were difficult, but the following 6 to 7 years were of extreme hardship. The Muslims were boycotted, tortured, and persecuted, and they were forced to endure it all. This hardship lasted for 10 years and intensified until it reached boiling point, after which the Muslims migrated to Abyssinia. The third stage was public dawah with selective military combat. In this phase, the Muslims fought the Quraysh, but did not fight anyone else, as the conflict was strictly limited to the Quraysh's persecution and pressure. This occurred for the first 6 years after the Hijrah. The fourth stage was open dawah to all with self-defense. The message was extended to the whole world, but fighting was not prescribed except in instances of self-defense. In this stage, the Muslims had political power, but it was not utilized for da'wah. This stage occurred from the Treaty of Hudaybiyah until the conquest of Mecca. The treaty stipulated no fighting, even though the Prophet had an army, political power, and resources. While the Muslims were disheartened at the time, it transpired to be one of Islam's biggest successes. Allah said,
"Indeed, we have granted you a clear triumph." Surah 48, verse 1.
The fifth and final stage was dawah with full military combat to anyone who opposes Islam. The Prophet passed away in this stage, as he was sending armies alongside delegates to surrounding nations. The caliphs after him continued this stage, conquering the Persian and Roman empires. The Umayyad dynasty sustained this, conquering the lands of modern-day Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, and more, all the way to China. By the era of the Abbasid dynasty, the Muslims reverted to the fourth stage, whereby global dawah took place but without military conquest. This stage continued for most of Islamic history. The stages of dawah were thus 5. Number 1, private dawah. Number 2, public dawah with no military combat. Number 3, public dawah with selective military combat. Number 4, open dawah with self-defense. Number 5, open dawah with full military combat. It is pertinent to distinguish private dawah with secret dawah, as secrecy means to keep something to oneself, which is contrary to the principle of dawah. It also implies a degree of deceit, whereas the Muslim is proud and firm in their belief. Private dawah is simply to limit the call to Islam, insofar as the ummah can be protected and sustained. The prophetic method also demonstrates that in some cases it may be more appropriate to give dawah privately if the political climate is that of fear and danger. Dawah can never be secret, and so seekers of truth must always be taught the truth. However, some circumstances may require a private approach be utilized.